Jarret, officially welcome back to the Wealth Juice podcast. We have a few people that have come on twice, but you and I were just chatting for like 20 minutes beforehand, like just reminiscing on all the things that we've done and like all the new things that we could potentially do together. So I'm really excited to have you back on the show. And for people that don't know you, I'd love to dive into a little bit of who you are and your story, but appreciate your time, brother.
Sure. Congratulations on all your success. We've been following each other for about 4 years now, or 5 years. We're old. That's
We
crazy.
are old.
But thank you for having me back on. I DM'd you and you were like, yeah, you're on immediately. You knew that. So that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And so for people that don't know, you're in Chicago. You've done so much in the real estate space.
Yeah.
Like you're buying deals, you're helping people with buying their dream home or their starter home in the Chicago
Yep.
area. But you now have this like VA business that's so interesting, and it's like tailored toward agents and people in the real estate space. But I want to dive into all this.
Sure.
I think there's going to be so much value that people can get from this episode. For people that like aren't don't know who you are,
Sure.
just give us a little background on your story.
Yeah. High level. Grew up in Schaumburg, Illinois. Pretty white collar, blue collar town. We have a big mall there. Fun fact for you, it's called Woodfield Mall. Went to Illinois State University down south. Went to business school, met my wife there, Elise. We then did what every other person that lives in Illinois does. You move back to the city, was renting, working a corporate job for many years in the building materials sector, which kind of led into real estate, right? Working for a company called James Hardy Building Products, which was this fiber cement company. That's where I met my business partner today. He was a manager at corporate in Chicago, and I was out in the field calling on like lumber yards, et cetera. 2019, again, working corporate, got married. And then in 20, got back 2020, got my real estate license. COVID hit the day after I got my license. So the day after
Perfect timing.
physically took the test, it was shut down. They closed the place you could take the test. That year did about 9 deals. Following year did about 49 deals. Um, our team, for example, we did about 19 million as a team before I joined 2019. Last year we did 88 million, about 137 deals. To put in perspective, you win an award every year based off volume, it like units, and you off of the amount of dollars. And we won the highest award you can get. It's like literally looks like an Oscar, and we're going to win one again this year, that was our goal. So that was huge for us. Anyways, going back, got my license, sold a lot of houses. That same year, my brother-in-law was like, "Hey, do you want to buy a 16-unit building in Indiana?" And it had a bunch of issues in it. We're not going to go there, but we renovated all 16, finished it. It's cash flowing well. Then we bought a two flat, which I live in. I house hack in Irving Park. Has appreciated significantly. And then fast forward, had my daughter Sienna a year after we met, me and you, and she's doing great. But she was born at 30 weeks. If anybody doesn't know that, a baby is supposed to be born in 40 weeks. So very scary. Definitely put me in a lot of perspective of why are we working so hard and giving back. That was in 2022. And then that summer, my brother-in-law called me again. He was like, "You want to buy a lake house?" I'm like, "Let's do it." So we bought an Airbnb lake house, and we got a boat. I bundled it. I got a boat and all the furniture. So I just plopped my bags down. I had this awesome lake house. And then fast forward, 2024, just those 2 years was just building my brand, building my businesses. We were really we were scaling up all of our businesses, renovating the 16 unit. And then was actually heading to my lake house one day to meet all my friends up there. And I got an unexpected call. My dad, super healthy guy, passed away from a heart attack in his sleep, no signs, nothing. So like what I've learned is, and we'll go into that a little bit, but like through these tragic experiences, you typically creates happiness, and that is. I was watching a documentary that through death, happiness is actually created, and it's totally changed my life and my perspective, and shown what is important, and how do I spend as much time with the loved ones and the people I care about, and how do I continue to give back to people, and that's through time, right? And I value my time. From there, I obviously got my dad's house. He had a townhouse. Was going to sell it. Was super emotional about that, but actually ended up getting a great tenant in there. Still have that. And then this year, my business partner called me and said, "Hey, you want to buy another property? You can do this thing called cost segregation because you're in real estate." And I said, "Why not?" So I bought another townhouse. So high level, um, I'm a dad. I am a father or a father dad, husband to Elise. And then I also own 21 units. And then I've got my real estate business that will do 88 million plus this year with 12 agents. Me and a partner named Eli Masood run that team, which is our agents are absolutely incredible. And then we've got the virtual assistant company too came out of that. So
Love it, man. I appreciate you sharing all that, and I wanted to get into like the mindset stuff about like the happiness because I love talking about the whole purpose of doing all of these things that you're doing. But before we get there,
sure.
I really want to press or double click here on like you went from 9 first of all, selling 9 in your first year is impressive, but then going like, then 5Xing that in your second
Yeah.
year, that's not normal. Most agents I just read a stat the other day that 70% of agents didn't do a deal in 2025,
Yeah.
and I thought that is interesting because I think what happens is you correct me if I'm wrong because 'cause you'll know better than me. A lot of agents get their license because 'cause they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna save money on the deals that I do," and they'll buy a deal a year, and they think it's, like, easy work, and I've
Sure.
learned this very quickly. I've gotten to very close to the finish line on certain things, and it's spent hours and hours and hours on the work and not gotten paid because the deal falls through. And I think, oh, okay, this real estate agent game
Yeah.
is very, very different than most jobs because you have a lot of jobs you get paid for your time
Yeah.
and you're trading time for dollars. And this is like results based, very results based.
Yes.
So talk to me about your 5Xing the second year in this business because this isn't just real estate agents. This is
Yeah.
entrepreneur life.
Yeah. I think what happened was I've been very good at time blocking and being very efficient with my time. And that comes back from corporate time. Um, Also utilizing the technology of the company I was at the time really, really, really helped me to follow up and actually care. Right. And I think there's a difference between following up and not caring, but being your authentic self and actually building a community, as we talked about earlier, with all of these people. The other aspect that I found was I'm really good at strategizing and forecasting what's going to happen. And I also am very good at raising capital from vendors and then showing them an ROI. Again, comes back to partnership with the vendors and doing some things that year took my business to the next level. It was a big risk, right? I had to invest my own capital, but it paid dividends. It changed my life.
When you say raising capital from vendors, can you talk to me about what that means? I mean, when I think of that is like, are you the vendors and the picks and shovels around the real estate, like property managers and contractors, or how does this work?
Sure. So it depends on your state, right? Um, Most states will allow vendors, mortgage brokers, inspection companies, attorneys, anybody that's involved, right, can essentially contribute. It's typically 50% of your marketing spend, right? And if you can show an ROI to them and like they're investing their hard earned capital and you can show an ROI, they're going to put fuel on that fire. Right. And as you grow and you show that and you're growing, they're growing, we're all growing together. And I think a lot of people miss that with whoever you're doing business with. Why don't you ask them, how do they make money? What's important to them? If you ask any real estate agent nowadays, what percentage does a mortgage broker make? They probably have no idea. They don't even know. Is it, how do they get paid? How do they support their families? Again, it goes back to caring. And that was a big switch in my life is learning how to analyze that and look at that from a broader perspective. So,
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think that that is probably one of the things that gets mainly missed, as you mentioned, about using other, not using, I'm sorry, like collaborating with people in your network to
totally.
figure out how can I send as much business possible to this appraiser or to this contractor because at the end of the day, it's this reciprocation effect that it's going to come back to you if you do it with the thought process that you're not really asking for anything in return. Now, of course, and if you refer to other agents and stuff, like you get referral fees and everything for that, which is great. But
Sure.
I love the model of like, all right, how can I blow up my network? And I don't mean that for yourself. I mean like how can I feed the people around me? And I think that's really that speaks a lot to like who you are.
Yeah, totally.
I want to touch on go ahead. Yeah.
No, I mean, the key aspect is, right, if we grow, if I grow, we all grow, right? It's a team, it's team, 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 culture, culture, culture. So for us to have vendors, multiple vendors for different trades, we need to make sure they're good, they're a part of our culture and what we believe in, and they have the same views in life as us, but also that they're going to give good service, right? And then if we have all of those things, we're all going to grow together and everything else will just happen. It just
Yeah.
organically happens.
So if you've ever tried getting a mortgage, which I'm sure many of you have, you know how daunting and discouraging it can be of a process. The slow process, paperwork, being told no without any real explanation. One time we were even told that taking out a home equity line of credit on an investment property wasn't even possible. So that all changed when we were introduced to Neo Home Loans. What makes Neo different is literally how they approach lending. They're not just checking the boxes, they're legit problem solvers. They look at your entire financial picture and explore multiple angles, literally until they find a strategy that works. They helped us reposition our portfolio, pull out lines of credits to scale, and structure everything for long term growth. And on top of that, their rates were some of the most competitive that we've seen. They just literally did whatever it takes to find a solution. For us, Neo has become our liability advisor. The same way you have a financial advisor on the asset side for the liabilities. If you're serious about building wealth through real estate, it's worth sitting down with them and getting your lending strategy dialed in. If you want to book a call with them, click the link in our show notes. Their team is unreal, but don't just take it from us, find out for yourself. One of the things that came out of you growing was this is kind of like by osmosis, as you were telling
Totally.
me before we started recording, is that you hired a virtual
I
assistant
did.
who like took so much time off your
Yeah,
hands and allowed you to make X amount more money, and you were, paying them what is a fair wage to them, but for you was like very inexpensive.
totally.
So tell me about like how this came to be, and then how you will get to the transition
Yep.
and how you turned it into a business of your own.
It was one idea. The idea was simple. It was I want to get every single email of the brokerage I work for in the country, every single agent in the country. How do I do that? I don't have time for it. She did. So pulled every single email in the country. At that time, we did not have chat, any of the AI stuff. We did manually did this. Then my goal was to send out an email through a tool that I have that looks organic. It's not a newsletter. It looked like it was individual, right? So it was about, and it wasn't about real estate. It was about why do I love the city I grew up in, and tell a tale. And from that, right, we started getting referrals inbound very quickly, and then I started seeing the ROI. And one of the everything has it's like a ladder, right? Success is a ladder. I have a sign that says success is a ladder, and I just saw it, but it literally is, right? It was perfect timing. I looked up at that. Um,
Success is a ladder that goes back down though too.
it
Like it doesn't always go step by step up. It goes up two, down one, or
totally,
up three, down three, right?
yeah.
That's how I'm looking
Well,
at
yeah.
it.
I mean, absolutely. You can get hit by, example, a passing of a loved one or something tragic in your life. It could be, you made a wrong decision in your money, whatever that may be. But I think, having the systems in place will always help you go back up. Right. And so I remember we were just emailing people. The first year I did this, I had 80 Zoom calls. Didn't know what I was going to do with all of this information. Was saying hi to all these agents, and then Maya Vander from Selling Sunset responded to my email um, and said, "Hey, my husband's from Chicago," and I said, "Hey, where's he from?" We went to the same high school. Immediately on a conversation like this with Corey right now, she was like, "Hey, I really." Within like 5 minutes, she was like, "Hey, I really want to start a networking group with you." I was like, "Oh my god, I've been thinking about doing this." So we did, and then from there the network started. So pretty much like because of what I my thought that original thought with my virtual assistant, none of this would be possible because it all just dominoed. And it's crazy to think about all of that stuff. And she's still with me today, and it's changed her life. It's changed my life. It's changed a lot of agents' lives and people overseas. Like we've had people quitting their corporate jobs over there as of last week and
So
texting me
I
about it.
want to, yeah, I want to get into this a little bit. Like, I think a lot of people, business owners, agents, etc., they hear I should hire a virtual assistant. Like, I should do this. But then, like, sometimes I even think about it, like, what am I going to have this virtual assistant do? Like, do I have the capability to train this person the way that I would want them to handle the things that I feel like, oh, I can just do it better? So, like,
Yeah,
how have you put in a process to train the VA? This is what your company does now. Like, and I think you work directly just with real estate agents, right? But
yeah. We've
you
also have
are
other entrepreneurs just because guess who's the biggest referral source in the world? Who talks the most? real estate
Agents.
agents,
Yep,
right?
exactly.
So we get all these other entrepreneurs coming out of nowhere. So
Right. So how does that like how do you recommend an entrepreneur, even if they're not gonna let's say they're not gonna use your service,
yeah, totally.
although as we chat through this, maybe it makes sense for people, but like they're gonna go try to find a VA on their own, which I think will have a lot of trial and error. I've done it.
Yep.
I had VA doing cold calls and everything,
Yep.
and it just didn't really work out the way that I wanted, but I did something wrong. So what do you think I did wrong, or what do you think people are doing wrong?
The first form, like, I mean, I have a weekly call with every client and then a monthly call. And what I've seen is delegation's huge. They don't know how to delegate. Second, they're so busy they feel overwhelmed and they feel like they're letting down the VA, so they give up. And that's the two. And then three, they say, "Hey, I just don't know how to train. I don't know how to hire. I don't know how to fire. I don't know what's going on." So that's the big one. Now, like, there's direct sources. You can go directly to the source, right? There's one vertical you can go direct to VAs, but again, it's a it's it's a hit or miss because you could be interviewing someone, they could send a resume and it looks like it's not even that, it looks like a photo and then it's not them that shows up on the Zoom call. There's one.
Mhm.
Two, it's like you don't know, right? So like what we've kind of done is we have 42 VAs now and about half of them are friends and family. We incentivize them heavily for their friends and family and we have zero turnover. We've had no turnover in a year. And I think it's special that we've had that family atmosphere, but to answer your question, I think people give up too soon, and I think they don't have someone stateside too, kind of telling them like, "Hey, this is what I'm doing, right?" And we give you like different tools to use and kind of get you. Let's start with one task, then two tasks, then three tasks. By the end of like 3 months, you've got 5, 6 tasks. It's like coffee. You got to get coffee every morning. I need this cup of coffee. You need someone helping you behind the scenes because you're running around. You're building a business. Someone's behind the scenes on a computer at all times for you. So that's
Yep.
huge.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's great. I noticed in my agent business, and I learned this quickly because I attached myself to another agent who's a killer, and he's been so helpful. But he just introduced me to one thing. The thing that I hate doing the most, and I learned this about myself, is paperwork. I am like a third grader when it comes to paperwork. I'm looking at this stuff. I don't know which documents to fill out. I have a transaction coordinator. She's
Me
unbelievable.
too.
Like I'm like, okay, my hard work is providing a lot of value to clients. My hard work is trying to create relationships where people really trust, know, like, and trust me, and they want to work with me. I'm a good negotiator, not great, but I'm learning. And I'm also like, I understand the market and how to piece deals together. But once that deal is under contract and I hand it over, I'm like, I'll be here to support, but my transaction coordinator is 10 times better than me.
Totally.
And she it's just such a win-win scenario. So when you hire these VAs,
Yeah.
are they acting as if they're transaction coordinators, or are they doing totally different tasks? Like
There's
what are they
there's
doing?
6 buckets. Most of them do multiple buckets. Transaction coordination, I see a lot of people do that stateside. I personally do that stateside
Yep.
because transaction coordination you need 24/7, right? And my transaction coordinator is my wife and she's on payroll. So
Okay, so
she
she's
better
good.
answer that email. So she quit her job and works full time in my business now because she has to support it. And then my business partner has an admin as well in stateside. But they're mostly predominantly doing daily, weekly, quarterly, yearly projects. Okay. And then on top of it, they're doing the biggest thing is social media. People do not keep up with social media. They do not manage their CRM or any tools on the back end because they don't have time. AI is great if you have time to use it. Most people don't have time to use it. They say they do, but they don't. And then we also have like operations management, like operations, just handling paperwork, filing stuff away. And then the final one is cold calling, right? A couple of people do cold call because people don't like the cold call here and people don't like the cold call there. So like we have like 2 out of the 42 cold call. It's a special person to do that, right? So,
Yeah, it makes total sense. You mentioned something that you're good at, a skill set that you have is figuring out what's coming next.
yep,
And I found recently that that has been one of the hardest things for not just me, but anyone to figure out because AI and the acceleration of how quickly that's happening. If you live in an echo chamber, you can decide for yourself that shit's going to be shitty and it's going to suck and everyone's going to lose all their jobs. And I decide not live in that echo chamber because what's the point? It's like this is coming whether I like it or not, or you
it's
like it or
here.
not.
It's
Um,
here, Corey.
it is here.
It's going.
Yeah.
We're on it.
So how do you implement or I guess my question is what do you think is coming
Yeah.
in that realm and how do you use it to your advantage to implement? because I'm looking at like I just watched this the other day at Anthropic. Somebody high up, I don't know if it's a CEO, but it just quit because they were saying like the basically they speak into their computer now and things get done at a rate that's so much faster that they could have ever done it. They're like, I'm not even of any use anymore. So I'm going to relate this to the real estate field and the real estate
Sure.
realm because I'm trying to figure out how like I guess if there's a direct to seller marketplace, like real estate agents could eventually become obsolete, but can you really remove the trust and the relationship aspect? What's your take on
You
that? Do you
physically
think
need
that
to be there still. People physically need to see someone there. Yes, AI will probably do everything else automation wise, but someone physically opening the door and physically alleviate. Oh my gosh! So like, I just got a call from one of my clients, and he's in Mexico City, right before this call, and super strict. I told him I bring this up. He was there was some stuff going on with one of the transactions, and it was a stressful time, and he needed to just hear these words, and it was, we live in the third largest city in the United States, and the United States is the richest country in the world. We will find a lender to loan on this property. All he needed to do was hear that, and we got it done. Right? He still needed to hear that. And AI is not going to be able to. A robot's not going to be able to do that. Right? So
that is let me just stop you there and I'll let you continue. But I'm glad you said this because in our community, and we teach people how to buy real estate, the thing that people need is not the information. It's abundant. You can find any information about how to do something
yep,
anywhere. And if you trust it, that's another thing. Like maybe you don't trust it. But for me to look somebody in the eye and say, Jarret, this is a good deal. You should go buy this because I have X resume backing it, telling
yep,
you that you should. And I did this and this and this. And then they're like, boom, confidence. I'm going to go do this. So that's kind of the same thing in a way of just like you needed, this person needed to hear it from you because he trusts you that this is still. And then because of that, I think people talk about an art renaissance, but I think like a companionship and uh, networking renaissance is going to re-elevate. People are going to get off of their phones
totally.
because the phones are going to do all the work, and you're going to be able to have these conversations like this, and that's where like the true like happiness is going to get brought back into it. Sorry,
Yep.
going in a lot of circles there, but
No,
I think that's. I mean, I don't know if you have anything to add on to that.
no, I just think no, totally coming off of that. I mean, I used AI when I bought my townhouse in November. I sat down with the lady and I said, "This is gonna be the easiest transaction you've had this year," and it was off by like, I think it was $5. AI. I bought this entire property putting information into ChatGPT and created a folder for it. And to literally the $5 mark, it told me what my monthly payment was going to be by the time I got there. So I already had the information. And then on top of it, it gave me what my ROI would be if I did a cost segregation versus not doing a cost segregation, and then how much it would save me on my taxes, personal taxes. Then I took that information. Oh, and AI gave me the tax code to give to my CPA because she did not know the tax code for this to save me an additional $10,000 to $16,000 on my taxes last year.
That's how I've used it too, because I had a unique circumstance where I don't know if you've heard of this. It's called a 1033 like kind exchange, and basically what that is when you have a fire or a catastrophe at a property, you have a certain amount of time to get a replacement property. We didn't find the property in time, so we have to pay capital gains. But I kept telling my CPA 1033. This is, and they kept saying, "Oh, 1031," and I'm like, "It's not 1031. I'm going to show you through AI what this actually is." And then I'm not blaming the CPA. It's like it's kind of a rare thing, but that is how you can kind of verify, what's right and
Yeah.
what's wrong. And I'm just learning so much through it. But I mean, there is a little bit of a nervousness around it to me because it's like you don't want, when people say that like AI is going to replace all these jobs, I do think like, well, AI is not going to pay taxes,
No,
right? So like, how does that affect like the broader economy?
it
Not
will still
necessarily.
create other jobs globally,
Right.
not locally, globally. When I say globally, a prime example is all of these companies you're calling, it's pretty much going overseas, right? They're using technology over there and they have people there. There will be other jobs created over here. It will all even itself out, right? You may lose a bunch of software engineers in one vertical, but all these other AI companies may pop up where they need software engineers there. So it's just different. It's going to take time. Right now we're in this like transition mode of probably, I mean, in our lifetime, probably one of the biggest transitions in technology in the history of
Oh,
and it will be like this again. There will something else will happen in 10 years and 20 years, right? The iPhone,
yep.
AI, like it's going to keep happening. So,
Hey, let me pause the episode real quick. Let me know if this sounds like you. You're making six figures, you're climbing the corporate ladder, investing in your 401k and your Roth IRA, and maybe even a brokerage account. But deep down, you're asking yourself, is this really it? Like, am I just going to do this thing for the next 30 years and hope to retire in my 60s? That was exactly us just a few years back. We were curious and excited about real estate, but overwhelmed and without a roadmap. If you fast forward to today, we've built a portfolio of over 80 cash flowing units and grown our net worth to over $2 million. We made it our mission to help busy professionals like you take that same leap and start building generational wealth for yourself and your family. That's exactly why we created the Wealth Juice Inner Circle, a private real estate investing community designed to help you get your first rental property under your belt in as little as 90 days. Inside, you'll get direct access to us, our full investing network, private off market deals, and our exact playbook, and a community of investors who are closing deals every single week. That first property changed everything for us. We always talk about it. It was the true foundation for building generational wealth. And honestly, if we had access to something like this when we first started, we'd be 10 times further along by now. So if this sounds just like you, click the link in our show notes and schedule a call with me. Yes, me. I'll be taking the calls. We'll go over your goals, map out a plan, and get you ready to close your first deal. Let's get it. Yeah. I want to get into like your goals with your business and maybe the agent side of because you're running a team,
yep,
right? Team there, and then also
yep.
how the VA business integrates with that, and like, do you have goals that you're setting based on where you want to get to, whether it's volume wise or how many clients you want to have? And I know they overlap, so
Sure. I
about
mean,
that.
the team goal is 100 million this year. We just think that sounds great, right? But it also shows like our growth would be an additional like 10%, 10 to 12%. We're in a market right now where there's no inventory. So the overall market's down about 8% because there's just like a stalemate here. It's one of the craziest markets in the country that I've seen. Um, it's not a numbers game. It's not like a certain amount of units. It's not about adding agents because all of our agents, none of them are new. We do not bring on new agents. We only bring on agents that have been an agent and then need help in setting goals, using CRMs, using processes, creating procedures for their clients to become a better agent, just elevate them a little, give them an extra spice. So that's kind of that. I'm becoming a partner March 1st with my business partner, Eli Masood, which is going to be amazing for me. I already have a team there, but I'll be able to launch some more verticals. We're also expanding into the suburbs. So that's kind of that. Personally, I want to do of the 100 million, I want to do about 20 to 25 million personally this year. I've now started, years of sending properties to builders over and over and over again. A builder finally gave me a chance, and we bought this property for 405. It's going to be a 6-bed, 4.5 bath. We're in the drywall stage right now. We're under contract. I can't disclose what that is. And then we just were digging on Christmas Eve. I found another lot 2 blocks over with my dog. So we're going to start that project. So that's pretty exciting. I'm starting to get into building and learning about that. That might be a vertical for myself at the end of the year where I buy the land and split the profits with him, but that's not in the future right now. And then the VA business, the goal right now is to get to 100 as fast as possible. Right, we're right at about around 60 clients right now. It's been a lot of referrals. You do a good job, you care about people, people start talking.
Yeah, I think
So
that's a good place for people to start that are listening if they want to think about how they can remove themselves from the minutia of their business. Like, definitely, and we'll get to
yeah,
your contact info and people reaching out to you. But something that you said that interests me, I have found that Philadelphia and Chicago are similar in terms of San Fran and New York are like these almost untouchable cities if you're like trying to start buying real estate,
yeah,
and not quite untouchable,
yeah,
but they're like if you're in the stages of like starting to buy, not necessarily investments, but just even like a home, it's just like so difficult to get in there and the value of these homes. But I think Chicago and Philly are like these not under the radar because they're both big cities, but there are deals all over the place in Philly. And it's like I'm noticing people moving from New York to Philly.
yeah,
And this is a true 100% story. There's a person who was spending 6 grand a month in rent in New York, and they just bought a place, and their mortgage is like 3,500 in Philly, and it's like double the size of the
yeah,
space. And they're like, I cannot even believe it. Like they're like, I'm like, yeah, this is kind of now you're not getting New York's New York, right? You're not
sure,
getting New York, but there are so many like opportunities in Philly. So Chicago's bigger than that, even in Philly. But I'm curious, like, if you could tell me like what you have learned about Chicago and like why you like it and what it brings, for people that are looking to potentially like invest or move there.
Sure. Chicago is, yeah, it's similar to, we don't, our price points are way lower than the West and East Coast, right? And people don't even understand that it's the third largest city, and our price points average is like 350 for a condo, right? I think that what it gets is, it is one of the easiest cities to get around because it's a grid pattern because of the Great Fire. They rebuilt the city. Very easy to get to. Very clean alleys. All the garbage that's not on the streets, super clean. You've got an amazing lakefront, biggest fresh body of water in the world. People don't understand that concept. And then geographically location. What's crazy about Chicago is, like I said, we get the West Coast meets the East Coast. And so what that is,
Center
it's
point,
the
right?
center point, right? So what happens with that is the cultures are incredible, right? We're the most diverse, one of the most diverse. I mean, I don't have a stat to back this up, but it's one of the most diverse cities in the world. Like, for example, we have almost as many Polish immigrants in Chicago as the capital of Poland, right? And a lot of people don't know that, which is born, what happens there is, you have all these museums, you have amazing fine dining, you get fresh food from the Midwest, from all the farms, and then you get this melting pot of all these people have come over from the West and the East into Chicago. It's just an incredible city, and then it's also like a multifamily capital. There's so many multifamilies. It is like
Love it.
two. We call them two flats. We don't call them duplexes. So we
I
call,
noticed that. There's a couple people in our community, and I was like,
yeah,
had to like learn
2
the
flats,
lingo a
3
little bit. Two
flats,
flats.
4 flats, 5 flats. Duplex is, if it's duplex down, it's 2 floors internal unit, and duplex up is different. So, yeah, a lot of multifamilies. That's pretty incredible as well. Sports wise, not that great. Not that great. We're not a Philly. We're not rip.
Well, I mean,
We're
it goes in ebbs and flows.
Yeah, but
Like
you
you
guys
have
have
all
had
the sports teams,
championships. So we've had the Cubs. We had a Cubs championship. Yeah, it's been a tough one.
but it's a great sports town,
We
regardless. It's a
are
great sports.
diehards like you guys. Very diehards, very pro everything here. We bleed it.
Actually, I just read today, Jared, that I couldn't even believe this, that the Bears are actually moving to Indiana
Not
or
gonna happen.
potentially moving to Indiana. Not
Not
happening?
gonna happen.
Okay.
No way. No way. I mean, yeah, that happened yesterday. Hammond, Indiana. Great area. Northwest Indiana is phenomenal. I have a couple Asian friends that live there. I almost wanted to move there because it's like 30 minutes from downtown. Like, that's it. 30 minutes. It's like 10 miles. But it's a totally different world. And I think that if the Bears were to do that, they would lose a lot of fans that go to the games in northwest suburbs and western suburbs and the northern side of Chicago, because it takes a long time to get there from traffic. Um, I don't know what would happen in that situation. I
Yeah,
don't
it's
even
interesting. I
know.
mean, I don't know the geography of the
Yeah,
state, so like I didn't realize it was that close.
it's
So I
close,
wasn't
but in
suggesting
traffic,
that.
it's an hour plus. So,
Yeah, it's kind of similar to like the New York Giants and Jets. They play in New Jersey,
yeah,
right? Like, so it's like not, that's probably annoying to New York people, but it's like geographically, or I guess the layout of just
yeah,
it had to work out that way. Where MSG is like in the center
yeah,
of New York,
yeah,
right? So, I want to get to some things that you said earlier about what you've learned from tragedy and like what you've learned from just going through like this scare, you don't have to get into too much detail, but
sure.
like, the scare with your daughter and like all this,
Yeah,
like, it sounds like it's changed your perspective on business and life. And I think this is unique. It's not unique to you, but people need to hear it because they, I've, when I tell people like to pursue financial freedom or to pursue real estate, what ends up happening is you escape one rat race and you enter another rat race.
yep,
And it's a better rat race because you control your time and your destiny a little bit more, but then your brain is just constantly on. And I have had a really hard time shutting it off and like smelling the roses and just like enjoying life. And I've gotten a lot better at it to know that like, hey, I might not be a billionaire. And that's
that's
okay.
okay.
Like I might not get there. That's all right if I don't get to that stage. I'm curious what you've learned and how that's changed your perspective.
Yeah, I think through tragedy, it really makes you appreciate what you have around yourself. And then you look at what you analyze, essentially what is the most important things to me, and that is typically family, friends, um, and charities, right? So I think, and giving back to community. So through that, um, I've realized that giving back was huge. Like the first year after my father's death, I became the philanthropy chair for an organization. We did like 280 hours of volunteer work that year through local charities that we really loved. And then also, I became a part of the Endeavor Health System, which is the one of the bigger hospital systems here through the Young Professionals Board there, where we give about $400,000 back to the hospital system for primarily pediatric, primarily the ISCU slash NICU. For people that don't know that, that's the intensive care unit for babies.
Mhm.
Um, so I think it just like really, you also look at an example of this, right? Is like every day I just write like a couple things. I write the day, and then I write in my notebook personal things I have to do that day, real estate things I have to do that day, and then I have names for the businesses that I'm involved in underneath that, and I write my list. But underneath that, every day I write one thing I love or one thing I enjoyed from the day before, or just in life about my wife and my daughter every day. So if something ever happens to me, right, they can look back at that and see that. And I'm always I think any I hate saying agents on our team because they're more like family, but every time I'm with them, it's beyond words how important they are to me because they're dependent on me, right? They're dependent on my the more success we bring as a group as a unit, we're helping them, right, and their families. And same with I think a lot of these even the business overseas, like I go back to that too. One of our, I'm not going to say who it is, but one of her moms came down with cancer, and making sure she can be with her and caring about them, and there's 42 of them. Some of them are building houses because of me, right? And I think that it's just a bigger calling. I don't, the numbers will always be there, right? I think you talked about it on one of your last podcasts. I listened to two of them before I came on the show, but setting the goals are great. After you hit that goal, like what's next? You're always going to think what's next. I think that it will just come at a certain point. Like stuff will just happen. If you're doing the right fundamentals, everything else will happen, right? So
What do you have to say to, and by the way, it's a great answer, but I'm curious what you have to say about the notion that, and how you stay grounded in this. Like, I've heard so many people say, I went and I achieved these goals, and the people that I love that I say I'm doing it for never even really asked for all those things to happen, right? They just wanted you, like, or they wanted you to be around, or so. How do you? I'm kind of setting you up here because, like, I'm not sure if you've prepared an answer for this, but I'm like, how do you and your wife get clear on what are the things that you actually want, so that you're not just running a race just to run? Is there something that you do?
my wife is the most humble, opposite person. She's the opposite of me, and
My fiance is kind of like that
she's
too.
the opposite. If it wasn't for her, we wouldn't be living in this two flat still. Like if I had a wife that wanted to like move to the suburbs and have a big house and like drive a nice car, we probably wouldn't be able to save as quickly as we have, and that has changed our lives. She grew up in a house where the kids shared a room for a while, and then they moved to a nicer area to get their kids into a better school. Right? They gritted it out. Their family they grinded it out. Their family did that, and so with her, I think it's gotten to the point where when I do things, she sees the success and just trusts it. And she knows that it's in the best intentions of what I do. I share things with her every month. She has access to everything, but she just wants to take care of our family and enjoy life. And I think that's really
Yeah.
special. And then when at nighttime, I can really let go of business and really just spend time with them. And that's really special. It's not like my wife's like looking at an Excel sheet and being like, Jared, why didn't we hit these numbers? She's more like, hey, did you have a good day? Are we doing fine? It's okay if we're not, but I love you. Like
Yeah, I think.
that's it, man. And I almost get emotional about that because like I found the person that is such a ride or die with me. God, met when we were 19, man. Like crazy.
Yeah. I think it's beautiful. I think, I love having these conversations on the podcast because, I have these talks with my fiance too, and she's like, she truly would be happy if we lived under a bridge, maybe with a heater and air conditioner, but, like, truly just that's all. She doesn't long for, like, and she I mean, she likes nice things, everyone does, but it's
Sure.
just like, I know what she really values. And I think that's so important, like going into business and like, because a lot of business owners or entrepreneurs will use business to escape the life that they have at
Totally,
home.
totally.
And that I think is like,
Wow, that's
I mean, that's unique. And Ryan and I
yeah,
were out at a like an entrepreneurial like meetup in Arizona. And you know, Ryan, it was really funny because I was not engaged at the time, but I was planning on
congratulations,
Ryan.
by the way. Was that in May?
Oh,
Was that
thank
in
you.
May?
That was in May. Yes, thank
Congratulations,
you.
very cool,
Thank
very
you.
exciting.
Appreciate
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah, we're getting married in November,
that's
but
exciting.
he was the only person that was married that was there in this room of
Wow.
entrepreneurs. So I've had to like
Yeah,
orchestrate the thought process of like, well, I want to be around entrepreneurs and business owners who value that and growing the family because,
yeah,
dude, you can escape it all day long. Money can buy you all these things, and it's like it's you got to be careful. I think in this game because
totally.
there is money can take you in so many different directions. So like honing in on what your values are, I think is
Yeah,
paramount,
I
right?
think you need to have that because lifestyle you this is all quintessential, but, like, lifestyle inflation is a real thing. You know, you could be making $400,000 as a joint couple, and you only have X amount, right? And it's like, where is it all going? Right? Like, what are we doing? And you're just in this rat race. And then you're getting stressed because you got to keep up with all this stuff, which then creates problems in the relationship. And then it's like, it's a domino effect. At the end of the day, Corey, like me and you, we're never not going to have a job. We're never not going to make money, right? We
Yeah,
may not
that's I
make
mean
a
that's
ton. We may not make the most we've ever made in 1 year, but if we save and we don't let lifestyle inflation and we enjoy and still enjoy what you're fruits of your labor, going on trips and stuff, and spending time with loved ones, everything else will work out.
I love that you say this because I talked to my fiance about this last night and I said, if we just do what we're doing for the next, I'm 34,
Yeah,
right? So I'm
we're
not
the
like
same age. We're the same age.
okay,
Yep.
cool. So I was like, if we do what we're doing, and by the way, I didn't know that you were living in a duplex, two flat still,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So like, to me, I'm living in a property that I house hacked for years, and my mortgage is, I mean, it's like so much lower than if I like traded it for the equivalent right now.
Yep.
And I'm like, if we just do this for like 3 more years, like we're gonna be so far ahead. And I have friends, family, and people that and not necessarily family, but just like people that I know in my circle that are like really struggling. And I think
Oh
about,
yeah.
man, like, okay, how do you put yourself in a position so that you don't do that? And I think so much of it comes down to lifestyle creep. So much of it comes down to like, I don't even know where my money's going. And that's, I think, why, you mentioned being your age and like, this is an advocate for like waiting into your 30s to have kids. I'm not saying that. I'm like, you
Sure.
can do it whenever, but like, what for me, I'll be 35, 36, God willing, when that happens. I'm like, I have it in my own head. I'm like, I'm so prepared financially for
Oh,
that
totally. You're set
now.
up. You're
You
set
know,
up. Yeah.
so that to me, I didn't know where this conversation was going to go, but I just like having talks about that because I think that goes down to like who you have conversations with every day and who you surround yourself with, and you know, just not getting lost in the trap of like trying to buy the next nice thing.
Your
And you
kid,
can do that,
your
dude, if you do
Corey,
100 million in volume.
Corey,
Like
your child doesn't care how much money you have. They don't care how many units you have. They don't care what you drive. You're dada. That's it. They care about you and they see you being happy. That's all that matters, right? And I think that people lose that and their ego gets involved where they think they have to keep making more money, and it's like, just keep doing what you're doing. When you get there, keep doing what you're doing. Be humble about it, and everything else will follow. And if you just keep
yeah.
going, you're going to be set for life.
I think compounding interest also takes a big factor of play into this because it's not that people like you and I don't want to increase our lifestyles because we do. Like life is too
Oh,
short to not like enjoy the fruits of your labor. But I think if I've kind of narrowed this down, like the way to do it. So for people that are listening about all these stories, like maybe some tax, like if you can just like hold down the fort and hold your position for a 5 year time
yeah,
frame, then your increase can be not just like, oh, I'm gonna slowly graduate to the next thing and increase as my income
yeah,
increases. It's like, just as an example, if you're able to bring in $200,000,
sure.
I'm just throwing this out there, if you can live off 100, right? And I don't think that's that crazy to think of, but if you can do that, if you can hold the line
Hold
for
the
3 to 4 years, hold the line until you're making 3 or 400, just as an example, if you can increase it and then move it to 200, that's a big gap. Like move your expenses to
sure.
200, that's a big gap between 100 and 200. You can get a new nice car, a new house, like all that. But if you incrementally do it as you make more money, you'll feel like you're stuck in the same place the whole time. And I think that's where people make mistakes. So that was my conversation. I'm like, we're gonna hold the line for 3 years.
Hold it.
I love what we're doing. Like, I can go on trips, I can spend money on experiences, but I drive a paid off car. Like,
Me
I
too.
drive so I'm like,
Yeah.
is that important? I don't know. Is it what's important to you? I think is what people need to realize. And if you're a car person, then go
Go
buy
buy
the
the
car.
car.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
But
if
don't become spend $120,000 on a uh, golf membership, and then have a reoccurring cost there. Then you got this amazing car. Like you
yep,
choose one, right? Eventually you'll get to there. I think it's also a lot of people look at older entrepreneurs, right? They were where we were when you're in this 30-year-old range. Cause like you eventually it's, I mean, I'm sure you've probably hit that, but like when you reach a point, either like, coast fire or whatever it may be, where you're like, if I don't do anything else right now, we're good. Hold the line, right? Just keep doing what you're doing and work whatever you're doing, do what you love. And if you're not doing what you love, maybe try something else.
yeah, try to figure that out exactly. And it's cool to make money. I love making money. It's all great, but
Yep.
like if you're not able to do it the way that you want to do it and do something that you really enjoy, it's almost like you're just like a robot, man. Like it can't just be about the money. So
Yep.
that's why I do the podcast, because I love having great conversations with people like yourself,
Yep.
which leads me to, this is all about buying back your time. That's the whole reason that we're even having this conversation, which is plays a lot into like what the VA company does. So
Yep.
I guess if people want to hear about how that works, how to get involved, how to buy back some of their time, like how do you go about introducing people to your company? Like what's the best way for people to connect with you?
Workwithcura.com. Fill out the form.
How do you spell that?
WRK with CURA.com.
Kira.
That's
Got it.
it.
Okay, cool.
And it means curated assistance, right? Specialty assistance. And all you do is fill it out. And it's 10 hours, 20 hours, 30 hours, or 40 hours a week, right? So if you want to do
Okay.
10 hours, you want to split 10 hours with a buddy, 5 and 5, we can do that, right? We're very niche, custom for you. And that's it. It's a 5 to 10 minute call, chat about what you got going on in life. If it's a fit, great. If it's not, it's not, right? Um, and let it ride. Get back your
Yeah.
time. I mean, no one likes working when they get home. I don't. You might, I don't know, because you don't have a kid yet. So like you
Yeah.
might love it. But when you've got the witching hour, I call it, kind of like fantasy football, like literally you just had dinner, then you're getting them into bed. It's chaos, right? And you're like, oh my God, I need to decompress. Like, but then it's insane.
Yeah, what's funny about that? I've been learning vicariously through my friends and people that have had kids before me. My sister has my nephew's going to be 9 months. So I've learned a lot about I'm not in this stage where I'm in the stage where I recognize how much time I actually have. And I think people skip that stage a lot where they're like, I don't have any time. And then they have a kid and they're like, holy shit, I really don't have any time.
Yeah.
But I'm recognizing it that I do actually
Oh my
have
God.
time. And I spend a lot of it working, but I spend too much of it thinking. But I'm like, I also realize like I have this, I can try to live in the moment now because the witching hours will be upon me at
They
some
will
point,
come.
like I say, God willing. So I, dude, I really just enjoy having conversations with you.
Yeah, Corey.
It's funny we
You're the
haven't
man.
chatted in 5 years. This has been fun. You told people how to reach out to you.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if you have any like parting words or wisdom or any advice for people that are in a similar stage that we're at, like trying to build it, still trying to make it, but um, something that people can take away that can maybe help them in their everyday scenario.
Sure. I heard this in a song this morning. It was, if you go to sleep tonight and you don't wake up tomorrow, what does that look like? Right? Think of every day as your last day and do everything with intention. Care about everyone, love everyone, have goals and aspects that match with what you want to achieve in life. I think that's probably the most important thing, right? Is just being a good person day in and day out, right? And
Love it. And that stuff compounds.
surrounding yourself with people too that are like that, like minded. I think is like what you guys have going on with your team. What you found with Ryan. I mean, he's like a brother, I'm assuming now, right? So
Oh my
it's
God. Yeah.
special. It's special.
Yeah,
So
I appreciate that, and I think we've talked about like relationship capital like also with like working capital, and I think that the more that you pour into people around you, like that compounds as much, if not more, than the actual dollars in your investment accounts or
totally.
whatever that might be. So Great advice, man. I appreciate you coming on, and thanks for spending the hour with me.
Yeah, of course. I got to go to showings. So
Love it.
thanks so much.
Before we wrap this show up, I want to leave you with this. If you're listening to the show, chances are you're doing pretty well in your career. You're making maybe six figures. You're putting money into your retirement accounts, maybe stacking some cash in a brokerage account, but you're still waiting for that next level. And here's the truth: waiting just costs you time. Every month you're on the sidelines is another month you could have had a property paying you and another step closer to financial freedom that you didn't take. Ryan and I know this because we stayed on the sidelines too long. We talk about this sometimes. We had the money, but not the guidance. And once we finally got our first property, everything shifted. It was the catalyst that built our entire portfolio and ultimately gave us freedom. And that's exactly why we built the Wealth Juice Inner Circle, to cut out wasted time, just give you the exact blueprint and surround you with a network of people who are closing deals every single week. So if you're tired of waiting and you're ready to finally get your first deal, click the link in the show notes and schedule a call with me. Let's map out your strategy and get you moving before another year slips by.